Hello everyone, this is Colin once again. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates it. For those of you who do, have a good one and have a good excuse to get together and be with family and friends and to eat good food. It's still early for me here where I am. It's still the morning, and so I've yet to actually partake in any eating of good food myself, but I figured, why not? Why not start Thanksgiving off by tipping my hat to all of the haters and their fabrications and lies against Islam? I figured, the haters celebrate Thanksgiving too, right? At least the ones where Thanksgiving is actually practiced, so I guess that would primarily be, the United States. I figured, why not? Let's tip it off, this holiday, to them as well. Let's include them in the celebrations. With the help of a user on YouTube who I know very well, his name is AIM786. He and I have collaborated, and he has done a great job of also exposing more liars and haters against Islam here on YouTube and also elsewhere on the web. And I will bring you up to speed on what's going on there for a second here. But I want to address some points that haters use a lot, and just show how a simple, investigative homework on the part of you as the viewers can really take you a long way in realizing how quickly these haters' sources are unauthentic, and not just because, Muslims say they are, but because, let's say, the time period in which they were written, many years after the Prophet's life, and we're talking hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. And, let's also look at when they don't tell you the whole story. I think that's kind of funny too, isn't it? When they present a case and they kind of twist things around and then, they basically make a big stink about something and show that they're ignorance, or maybe not their ignorance, but just their habit of lying to their viewers. The first one that I'm referring to is some of the controversy surrounding the marriage of the Prophet Muhammad to Aisha. Now, this is not a video going to talk about his actual marriage with Aisha. Rather, I'm interested in how the contemporaries of Muhammad viewed this marriage. Now, people like Ahmad's Kranthi, they'll quote a hadith from Sahih Bukhari, where Muhammad says to Abu Bakr, the father of Aisha, that he wants to marry Aisha. And Abu Bakr apparently says, but you're my brother in religion. And then he says, you're my brother in religion, but she is lawful for me to marry. And people like Ahmad's Kranthi, they'll say, and I've heard him say this, he says, this one but from Abu Bakr made it so clear that he was shocked and that he, was basically not approving of the fact that Muhammad wanted to marry such a young girl, to take her as his wife. This is outright baloney. Alright? This is outright baloney, because you can go to a simple source like Wikipedia. Now, I'm very careful, and you should too, when using Wikipedia. It's always good to look at the sources that the article is using, because as we all know, people can just edit the article as they please, but it's always good to look at the sources. And you know what's really funny? When you look at the early life, I'm actually going to cite my sources and read off of this article, and then give you the reference. You know what's interesting? Aisha, in her early life, the section of her early life, it mentions someone named Jabbar ibn Mut'im. Jabbar ibn Mut'im, the son of Mut'im ibn Adai. Well, who was Jabbar ibn Mut'im? Oh, he was the fiance of Aisha before the Prophet wanted to marry her. Oh, so that means she was actually going to get married to somebody else prior to the Prophet wanting to marry her, when she was still 6 or 7? That's right. And why don't the haters of Islam bring this up? Why don't they bring this guy up? Ahmad's Kranthi never brought him up. From my understanding, I've watched several of his videos on the topic, never heard him say it. So why doesn't he? Why doesn't he mention this guy named Jabbar ibn Mut'im? Because the sources for the article that mention him, he is mentioned in Ibn Hisham, where apparently he was going to get married to Aisha. Mentioned in the Encyclopedia of Islam, and Tabari, which would mean that Ibn Ishaq wrote about him as well. So I'm wondering, why, Ibn Hisham considered the most authentic seerah, Encyclopedia Islam, and other traditions. For example, we have writers such as William Montgomery Watts, who's a famous Orientalist. He wrote about this individual as well. Karen Armstrong mentions him in her biography, Muhammad Biography of a Prophet. So, why don't the haters mention Jabbar ibn Mut'im? Why? Well, probably because they know that their viewers are not stupid enough to believe that the highly illogical probability that you would have apparently two, quote, pedophiles, quote unquote, vying for the same child. The probability of that, I'm sorry, is completely ridiculous. Furthermore, if you look at the enemies of Islam, the enemies never actually insulted the Prophet about this topic. They never actually criticized him for this. It was viewed as a cultural practice, because then why was Jabbar ibn Mut'im trying to marry Aisha if it was and Abu Bakr actually was going to allow them to get married? Because Jabbar ibn Mut'im was the fiance of Aisha before the Prophet wanted to marry her. So if Abu Bakr, like Ahmad's Quran 3 says, was so against this act, that he was so against this immorality, then why was he going to have another person named Jabbar ibn Mut'im marry Aisha when she was only 6 or 7? Yeah, it's called people who are liars. Also, they love to quote the Life of Muhammad, page 3, 101. And they quote this source, and I'm amazed how they don't even look it up for themselves. They quote, see, when you're reading this page, most of the content is from Tabari. We mentioned Tabari before. He's not a very authentic source. But then when you get to this one point on page 301, it shifts from Tabari to a guy named Sahili. And it quotes Sahili, chapter 2, page 79. Excuse me, in his Rawaya of Yunus. And it says, Ibn Ishaq recorded, the apostle saw her, al-Fadl, when she was a baby, crawling before him, and said, if she grows up and I'm still alive, I will marry her. But he died before she grew up, and Sufyan bi al-Aswad Abdul Asad al-Makhzumi married her, and she bore him Rizqa and Lubada, etc. Okay. You know what's interesting? How come nobody ever asks who is Zuhaili and what is his Rawaya of Yunus? Because this is not quoted from Ibn Ishaq. This is not in his original narrative. This is not in Ibn Hisham. This is not even in Tabari. This is a totally third source that is found in Gulliam's translation of Ibn Ishaq's work. Well, again, I'll post the link to Wikipedia, and again, it's an authentic source. Why? Because one of the sources is Suhaliya's actual work that's cited in this translation. So I'd say that's an authentic source for this article. Suhaliya lived in the 11th century. Okay? He wasn't even alive during the Prophet's time. The 11th century. And he wrote commentary about Ibn Hisham, meaning Ibn Hisham's Sirah of the Prophet, the most authentic biography. So Suhaliya did not say that this is part of Ibn Hisham's narrative or his biography of the Prophet Muhammad. This is his own concoction. And if you look at the chain of transmission, Suhaliya only says that Ibn Ishaq recorded. He gives no chain of transmitters. There's no authentic narrators in this chain because there is no chain of narrators. So this is a fabricated story that is not even in Ibn Hisham. This is written by a guy who lived hundreds and hundreds of years after Ibn Hisham, writing commentaries on Ibn Hisham's work that is not recorded by Ibn Hisham himself. And yet the haters are using this and trying to pass it off because they say, oh look, it's an Ibn Ishaq. No, you idiots. Do your work, do your homework, and find out that it's really not. It's not an authentic source. Thanks. Furthermore, I'm going to post the link to this article that Ishaq Zarel used in his video. It was his evidence. This is where he got his information from, that the Muhammad's family was full of occult worshippers and whatnot. I'm going to post a link to the article in question and show you the links to where that article, his source material that he used for his video, is utterly refuted. I'm going to post the article of this doctor guy that he's citing, who he doesn't give any credit to, and then I'm going to cite the refutal for this doctor's own articles. So, refuting not just the video in question that uses this doctor's articles as source material, but actually destroying the source integrity of the source material itself. And I'll post 2 other videos I've made against haters of Islam as well. And please check out Aim's video with regards to one of the main sources used in the article. Peace be with you all.